Hey, it's John, True Vintage Guitar. This is Vintage Guitar Stories number 2 with this 1966 Fender Jaguar. Jaguar came out in 1962, just after the Jazzmaster. It was the top of the line at the time. Had a couple of cool features. Number one, this is a 24-inch scale neck compared to the Jazzmaster's 25.5-inch scale, and the Stratocaster and the Telecaster as well. So it's a little bit shorter scale. It's not technically short scale though. That would be like 22.5, like the Duosonics and Music Masters and stuff like that. But it's a 24-inch scale neck, so it's a little bit shorter. Number two, it's got two unique pickups. These are Jaguar pickups. They kind of resemble Stratocaster pickups inside, but they do have this shielding claw around the edge. You can kind of see there. I'll roll some B-roll so you can check that out. So yeah, Jaguar pickups, two of them. Still does have the beautiful floating bridge and tremolo setup for the offset guitars like the Jazzmaster. Love that. I'll do some more B-roll on that as well. So anyway, yeah, when they were introduced, they had a slab fretboard and flat pole pickups, and that was for about 6 months to a year. They discontinued the slab fretboard for the veneer fretboard, and then they changed the flat pole Jaguar pickups to the staggered Jaguar pickups. Then it was kind of largely unchanged until mid-1965, when you start seeing the binding on the neck like this one. So from 1965 to somewhere in 1966, they had the dots in the binding fretboard, and then they started doing the large pearl block inlays with binding. So this is from that short time period where they had dots and binding, but it has another cool feature that you may not have noticed at first. Fender came out with a new feature in 1958 for the Jazzmaster guitar and then was applied to other models. But it was a rosewood fretboard, and they used a thick slab piece of rosewood to start out with. So what that's talking about is actually, this is the rosewood fretboard, and this joint between the fretboard and the neck is flat on the bottom. So what you end up with is a thick rosewood slab connected to that maple neck. Then in 1962, they decided to change the style of fretboard. They changed it from the slab to the veneer rosewood fretboard. So what that looks like is it's a much thinner piece of rosewood, and it is applied curved on the bottom and curved on the top for the radius of the neck. So it ends up being a thinner piece of rosewood than the previous slab style rosewood. So that change happened in 1962 and was not reintroduced except for a strange thing that happened in mid-1965 or so until 1966. And that is that the 24-inch scale length guitars, like the Jaguar, the Mustang, the Duosonic 2, and the Music Master, some of those 24-inch scale guitars received a slab rosewood fretboard for some reason. We don't really have great documentation for why that is, so if you found it, leave a comment and let me know what you think. I'd love to see what you find. But anyway, so yeah, this is one of those rare guitars that came out with a slab rosewood fretboard in 1965, 1966. This is a September 1966 neck date. One of the ways you can tell a slab fretboard is the way that the rosewood fretboard transitions to the headstock here at the top. So this one you can see is kind of curved out, and it's not exactly curved out except for the way that they cut the end of the fretboard into the top of the headstock. And so a slab fretboard ends up looking like it curves out. So if you want to see a veneer rosewood fretboard, those look like they're curved in a little bit. I'll show you some B-roll on what a veneer fretboard looks like at the top of this headstock. But that's just the way that it's radiused on the bottom, so then when they cut it like that, it ends up looking like it curves in. And some of those in 63, 64 were a little bit thicker veneer, so they even look kind of flat at that transition. But anyway, this is one of those with the slab rosewood fretboard. The way you can tell is that it curves out, and if I were to take off this binding here at the end of the neck, you would see the slab, but I'm not going to do that because this is an awesome vintage guitar, so I wouldn't go disturbing it that way. But I'll show some B-roll of a Music Master from late 1965 that has similar features. It does not have binding on the neck, and you can actually see that slab at the end of the fretboard. Another thing that makes these offset guitars really special is the rhythm circuit. You've probably seen that also on the Jazzmaster. But yeah, so this is called a rhythm circuit, and although this does look like a weird jumble of electronics that might be difficult to figure out, it's actually very simple. So let me break it down like this. Imagine these are two separate circuits. So if you plug right into the jack here with this switch down, then what you've got are these controls here. This is a single volume and tone for each pickup. And then I've got on and off for the neck, on and off for the bridge, and then what's called a strangle switch. More on that in a bit. So that's the standard circuit here. You've got both pickups, no caps, except for the strangle switch, volume and tone, and the output jack. So then if we go up to the rhythm circuit with this button here, if you slide this up, you're engaging the rhythm circuit. So that's only going to be the neck pickup. Then you've got volume and tone for the neck pickup. And you've also got a cap in there that's kind of cutting down on those treble frequencies, so it's a little bit darker than just your neck pickup on the other section. So the point of the rhythm circuit was to give you a preset. So if you're switching from like maybe rhythm to lead, when you're chugging those rhythm chords, you can hit the rhythm circuit and it'll be a little bit darker, maybe a little bit quieter, won't stick out quite as much. But then when you flip that switch down, you can brighten it up, you can get lead tones, all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty cool circuit, but it didn't really catch on that well. Maybe you can make it work for you. I don't know. So this Fender Jaguar with September 1966 neck date has survived in really nice, clean, original condition. Never been messed with, never been modified or broken and repaired. It's all factory original. Original sunburst finish is very clean, very little checking. A little bit of checking on the front of the headstock. No breaks, no repairs. Original frets in great shape. Totally straight neck. Great sounding electronics. Have all been cleaned and adjusted. The only thing that I've done to it is that I replaced the foam underneath the pickups here, and that's because the foam degrades, it becomes hard, and you can't adjust the height of the pickups. So I went ahead and replaced that. Also put new foam on the bridge mute here because it was similarly deteriorated. So I replaced that with proper foam. It's textured on the top to have good contact there. So the story of vintage guitars is always really important to me. I don't have a ton of history on this one, but I can say that it was sourced out of Indiana. It was found in a house by the daughter of what we think was the original owner. And she remembers him playing it back in the day, but he was never really much of a player. He just kind of liked to plink around and play some chords. So anyway, she had forgotten about the guitar, and then her dad passed away. So when they were cleaning out the house, they found this in its original case. And he'd actually locked the locks on the case, so they had to take it to a locksmith to pry those locks out. So they found this inside. It was dusty, dirty, but really in good shape. One of the things that had happened is that her dad had laid the guitar down in the case on top of some chord charts. So on the back here, you can see that the ink bled through to the finish and left a reverse print of some chords. So don't try to fret those chords, they're going to be backwards. But I didn't try to clean it off the finish because I think it's mostly imprinted in there. And I kind of like that. It's a little bit of history from the original owner. Somebody that got a, fancy new guitar, wanted to learn how to play, and didn't really stick with it. So when they put it back in the case on top of the chord charts and locked the locks, they kind of forgot about it. So that's probably one reason this guitar stayed so clean and original and not screwed up, is that they never really played it that much. That's why the frets have survived in nice shape. Anyway, it came out of Indiana. We believe it was the original owner, and that's as far as we know. All right, we've got the 1966 Fender Jaguar. I'm going to be playing it through an Ibanez TS9, then into a 1971 Fender Princeton Reverb. I'm going to start with the drive off, just straight guitar into amp, then kick in the drive for the chorus parts. Here's how it sounds. right, now I'm going to go straight into a looper pedal, then into the 1971 Fender Princeton Reverb. We're going to start off on the rhythm circuit so I can show you what it sounds like. It's a little bit darker. It's just the neck pickup, so the volume and tone here are disengaged, no strangle switch. Volume and tone here are active, but it has a cap in there, so it's a little bit darker already. So I'm going to start off on the rhythm circuit, then I'm going to click down the lead and run through some settings and show you what those sound like. So here it is. Here's the neck pickup. And the bridge. Here's the middle. And the strangle switch in the middle. Strangle switch on the neck. And the bridge, really thin. Back to the middle. So there it is. That's the 1966 Fender Jaguar original sunburst finish. It's currently available at the time of this filming, so you can check out the link below to see if it's still there. Thanks for watching.